Okay. I'll get kicked off just as people are still joining our webinar today. Just want to welcome everyone. My name is Samir Abdullahi. I am the director of Select Fulton. Select Fulton is the economic and workforce development arm of Fulton County government. We work really hard to recruit new companies here to Fulton County across our 15 distinct cities, including the city of Atlanta, as well as market and promote Fulton County as a great place to do trade and commerce. We work with many of our community partners to support our existing companies already here in Fulton County so they can continue to thrive, grow, and expand. And we also support workforce development activities. We want to make sure that we've got a qualified and trained workforce to align with the needs of our business community that exist out there. So I'm pleased for everyone to join our webinar here today, really focused around small business funding and support from the perspective of Fulton County. I want to welcome those who have never joined us before with one of our webinars. We had a series called Empowering Entrepreneurs that we were voraciously doing during the pandemic and have scaled that back slightly. But I think what you'll see today is that our efforts in supporting small business are continuing. And so for those of you that are new to this program, we want to welcome you and hope you enjoy some of the interesting dialogue and information that's uniquely shared on this platform today. We'll have an exciting lineup of speakers that will share, again, some unique opportunities that Fulton County is putting out there for small business. First, we'll hear from Ray Pennie, who's the Chief of Business Advisory Services with Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs. He'll talk about our ongoing Fulton County Small Business Loan Program. It's kind of the second tranche that we have done, and really exciting opportunity, I think, especially as capital markets are starting to tighten, and the fact that we're offering loans up to $100,000. So I think that's fairly unique and a great opportunity. Second, we'll hear from our Chief Purchasing Agent of Fulton County, Felicia Strong-Whitaker. She'll share a little bit around how to do business with Fulton County. As you know, we're the largest county in the state of Georgia, the most economically active, have a very sizable budget, about a third of which we spend on procurement activities. So she'll share not only what we are doing to kind of connect with small businesses through our procurement apparatus, but a new and unique program that we're doing next year to really isolate specific procurements only for small businesses. So excited to hear what she will share about that unique program. Please expect for the webinar to be just about an hour. We'll do for each speaker about 20 minutes. And leave the balance of the time on the back end to do a little Q&A session. But if you don't get your questions answered today, we will definitely make sure we're recording this session. We'll make sure to follow up with any questions that didn't get answered today. And an important note, if there's an important call or a client comes in, we want to make sure you take that business. We will make sure to share this recording of the webinar with everyone who registered for the event today. So don't feel that pressure to get every bit of information live while we were doing it. So with that, I'd like to transition over to Ray, and I know he's got a slide deck that we'll pull up. Again, one of the big things that we love about Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs is they're not only our manager of our small business loan program, but really they provide unique wraparound support that I think is really critical for small businesses to make sure that the money is managed well, to make sure that the business is thought through thoughtfully. If there's additional kind of technical support around marketing, branding, leadership, accounting, they can offer those wraparound services to maximize what you're getting in that small business loan. So excited to hear about Ray and all the exciting services that the Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs team offers. So Ray, I'll turn it over to you.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Samir. Thank you, everybody who's taken time out of their busy schedule to join our call on today. And a special thank you to Select Fulton and the Fulton County commissioners for putting this opportunity together. To Samir's point earlier, this is our second go around. We were able to deploy at the height of the pandemic 2 different tranches of $1.5 million each in capital for a total of $3 million that really went out to folks that were trying to just stay open and stay viable. And so it was a great learning experience for us, and it just helped strengthen an already existing strong relationship that we have with Select Fulton, Fulton County in general. Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs, just to give you some context and a little bit of background. is a community development financial institution known as a CDFI in business. We're a mission-based lender, so we don't have depositories and we don't have checking accounts and things like that. But by mission-based lender, we specifically lend to small businesses that are either women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, with a specific really trying to help those that that may have been underserved in the past. And so we want to make sure that, combined with what we refer to as our 3 C's of coaching, capital, and connections. Capital obviously being the loan deployment piece, to Samir's point a second ago, the coaching component, both on the pre-loan and on the post-loan side. And then the connections piece is really leveraging our network as an organization to help provide both B2B and B2C opportunities for the client. If you could go to the second slide, I think it's Alexis that's running point here. Thank you so much. And if you could put it in the slide, there we go. You can go, yeah, the one before that, actually. There should be, yes, please. Thank you. And so this slide, I want to really kind of drill down before we get into the programmatic things, but to Samir's point, this is a conversation today about the Fulton County Recovery Loan Program, but it's also just as an important conversation about the wraparound services that Samir referenced that we provide. And so capital specifically for the program is between $15,000 and $100,000. ACE as an organization, enterprise-wide, we can go anywhere from 15 on up to $1 million. What I do want to focus on is those other 2 C's that we talked about. So we have a business advisory services that's very robust in the industry, that is comprised of both the pre-loan side and the post-loan side. The pre-loan side, for the most part, is taken care of by our women's business centers, of which out of the 146 in the country, we are blessed to have 2, one here in the Atlanta Metro since 2014, and another one that recently opened January the 21st in Savannah, Georgia, and the regional area of Savannah. What they offer as a women's business center is what I refer to as pre-loan services. So those of you that are on the call that might be ideating an idea, you kind of think you're ready to take that next step, that's a great resource that delivers 3 to 4 webinars a month so that you can do it virtually in a very timely fashion. It delivers just a myriad of content in terms of those webinars that if you attend one, you can have access to every one that we've ever recorded. And it drills down on things like how to start your small business, small business checklist, all the things that you might need for Secretary of State. Doing an online platform called Dream Builders will help you flush out your business plan by going through the 13 modules that are available. So it's a wonderful, robust platform and a wonderful service that we offer at ACE for those clients that come to us that are pre-loan. For the post-loan clients, we have an internal team, and I'll talk more about that at the end of this, because those of you that come through and decide you want to leverage this opportunity for the Fulton County Recovery Loan Program, you will have you will have a financial advisor that will walk in lockstep with you to help you grow your business, to help you have a better understanding and from a financial acumen standpoint, in terms of learning your balance sheets, your income statements, all the things that profit and loss statement, all of those things. And it's done in either a one-on-one coaching format or a cohort format. And my post-loan financial advisors also have access to a different learning platform, online learning platform, that we can leverage to help with learning these different things with worksheets and homework assignments. And so there's a connection that we hope after the loan closing in the Fulton County program specifically, that we allot up to 2 hours for each client every single month for the length of the time that you have the loan with Fulton County. And that's an important resource wherever you are in your business cycle, whether you're just starting out or whether you're a very mature business looking to grow and to scale, or to look at procurement opportunities like you'll hear from Ms. Felicia in a few minutes. And so I wanted to lift up that business advisory portion there. And then the business cohort model is also good because it gives a variety of services. You don't want to just have kind of one service where we call up and we talk about financials and all that. We want to have you be able to share with, like some of the examples given here in the cohort model, where you're able to work alongside other businesses that have shared problems, shared opportunities. Sometimes small business owners really feel like they're on an island by themselves. And so this gives them an opportunity to kind of share best practices and work through any challenges they may have with other small business owners. So we've proven concept with this cohort model. And again, it's just a different way to deliver the business advisory services that we offer here at ACE. The last C that I want to lift up before we talk about the loan program itself is that connections piece. And I think that that's every bit as important as the other two C's that we've referenced in terms of capital and coaching. Why that's relevant? Because you're then ACE tends to have our financial advisors focus on the financial acumen of the client. But there are other business needs that you may come across that you may need where there are subject matter experts out there in the space that can deliver on that. I'll give it for instance. Let's say you have a business, you've pivoted during COVID, and now you figured out that you need to really do a serious upgrade on your website. Well, websites are not our thing. We're a financial organization and financials are our thing. So, but we have a community of practice, and Atlanta is really unique in that regard, Atlanta and Georgia in general, that there is enough work and enough items that need to be covered for our small business owners and enough clients out there that there is really no competition. It's okay, I'll call up my network. There's a group that I'm engaged with, Atlanta Wealth Business Initiative, where we have a community of practice. And it's basically every nonprofit you can think of in this ecosphere. Well, there's folks in that group that can do a better job of providing a website, do a better job of maybe providing marketing, do a better job at X that whatever ACE isn't able to do can fill in the gap. And so that's a very important resource. We're also in lockstep. I referenced a few minutes ago our ACE's Women's Small Business Center. Those are backed and empowered by the SBA. And so part of that is we have access to SCORE mentors, and we have a great relationship with the 18 individual locations of the Small Business Development Centers across the state of Georgia, the SBDCs. Great relationships in these cohort models with Morehouse College and Atlanta University Center. We provide networking opportunities like our annual speed coaching event and minority expos that we deliver on. These are all opportunities and all resources that I would encourage everybody on the call that wherever you are in your business cycle, that you leverage these opportunities because most of them are free. And if there is any cost, it's relatively inexpensive. We try to leverage our networks to provide business to business connections, as well as business to consumer introductions and referrals as well. And so I just wanted to give you some context of who we are as a nonprofit CDFI in the space, why the relationship is so important to us and Fulton County, because we want to, at the end of the day, make an impact and a difference for these small businesses here in Fulton County and beyond. If you could go to the next slide, please, Alexis. Oh, there we go. I always like to, one thing that we do at ACE is kind of our thing is we don't ever use stock photos. We like to show our clients off. And so to start to introduce the loan program itself, I just wanted to get a quote from Dr. Valeria Price from Our Care Solutions, where she references that ACE has been a valuable resource in my entrepreneurial journey. And after being turned down by my bank, she had been with for over 20 years, she made a call to ACE and was surprised and grateful that they worked everything out for me. Part of my personal mission statement is to form partnerships where people care. I feel like ACE falls right into my mission because they are a partner who really cares for people like me. And that is such a true statement. It's encoded in our DNA. It's encoded in our staff. It's a very passionate and empathetic staff that across all parts of the organization that work diligently every single day to get up and make sure we're doing everything we can for minority-owned businesses, everything we can for female-owned businesses and veteran-owned businesses. And more importantly, we want to make sure those of us, we've all been through a lot these last 2.5 years, that we come through this pandemic on the other side stronger and better for it. So we're saying that ACE has announced this. This program came out on April the 4th of this spring, and it's a recovery loan program available exclusively to businesses in Fulton County. It's excluding City of Atlanta. If there is anybody on the call for City of Atlanta, we have a similar program that we can talk about another time, or you can call me offline. I believe my contact information will be shared. But this is specifically for Fulton County. So take City of Atlanta out of the equation. Think South Fulton, think North Fulton. And the program was developed to assist small businesses that were really hardest hit by the pandemic. As I keep saying, we're prioritizing access for female-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses initially. And so there will be some preference that will be given to loan applicants who meet the lending criteria and who commit to receive the business advisory service that I mentioned earlier in my presentation. We want to help grow your business, and we want to make sure you sustain your business. You're also going to get a copy of this deck. And so if you are looking and interested in going into the platform, it's an online application. You would simply click on that link below of aceloans.org /Fulton /, and that'll get you logged into it. To Samir's point earlier also, this is a long-term program, but we want to make sure that we give every opportunity for Fulton County residents to leverage the program and to use it to help them grow and sustain their businesses. Next slide, please. So let's get into the guts of this a little bit. Obviously, the product type is capital. Working capital is a kind of a catch-all phrase that we leverage. And that working capital can be everything from supporting payroll, much like the PPP and all those types of products that came out from the government, benefit costs, cost to help retain employees. One thing we're seeing anecdotally across the board is that it's been a very, very big challenge for our small business owners to hire and retain help. There was a really sort of a seismic shift in the workforce during the pandemic. People rediscovered what work-life balance meant. They want better benefits. They want to maybe work from home in a hybrid model, or they want to do both, or just stay remote. And all these things there's a cost that can be associated with it. Things like mortgage, things like rents, utilities, all of that kind of fall into that bucket of working capital, as well as products and things like that to help build your or inventory to help build your products and things like that. So just wanted to make sure that we were clear on the eligible uses for that. And everybody, of course, is in a case-by-case scenario, but really be thinking in terms of, I'll give a really good example of where this would fit in, is a lot had to happen during the pandemic when people needed the PPE, the personal protection equipment. Like say if you had a restaurant, for instance, it's a great example of these businesses that were vulnerable. They had to retool their entire inside to put up the sneeze guards and help protect the staff with masks and hand sanitizer stations and all of those things that you would think, oh, but those things all come at a cost to your organization, to your business. And so those are the types of things that we were looking for to leverage this funding for. And so just want to make sure that we had some clarity around that. Everybody was impacted negatively for the most part. And so if you can show any kind of an impact, that could be in the form of a loss of revenue. It could be in the form of loss of staff. It could be in a lot of different forms, increase in prices. Those are all impacts on your business due to the pandemic. And so that's really the crux of what we're trying to lend to. We don't want to put everybody in a box, but we want to make sure that we hear everybody's story and do what we can to assist them. When we look at the parameters of the loan amount, it's from $15,000 on up to $100,000. Our interest rate on this is very competitive. It's at 4%, and we'll amortize the term up to 60. We'll amortize it out longer to make the payment lower, but the loans are termed at 60 months, and so that gives some flexibility there. We want to also try to keep those loan payments lower as we possibly can. Also, in terms of minimum credit score, what differentiates us from the banks and what have you is we do go down to a 600 Equifax score. And that's very, very competitive when you normally think of traditional banking organizations that go 680 or 720 and above in terms of their credit requirements. I do ask that in terms of your minimum credit requirements, we can't have any current delinquencies. Things happen in the past. We get that. We understand it. I encourage anybody that calls and gets in dialogue with our loan officer or underwriter to be transparent about that and explain that. It's very important so we can find ways to mitigate across that. So nothing in terms of charge-off, judgments, things like that. Standard boilerplate stuff in terms of lending. But if your credit score happens to be low for whatever reason, that's a discussion that we can have with underwriting and talk through that. So it's very, very important to that. ACE, post-pandemic and for their short term anyway, are not doing startup businesses, but this program is for businesses that are 2 years or older in terms of maturation. And so just want to also lift that up and make sure that we're clear on that. Loan fees, negligible, 1.75 of origination fee, plus any additional closing costs, which again are minimal. 5% of loan payment in terms of a late fee. We do sometimes do a blanket lien on business assets, and that's stuff like furniture, fixtures, and equipment. You'll hear that term of FF&E. And then the other thing I wanted to make sure I lift off before I pass the torch to Felicia is proprietor shall have document 2 hours of BAS activity per month for life of the loan. This is something that we strongly encourage because it's a free service. It's a service with professionals, and I'm going to introduce you to in a second. But this is it's something that we're very proud of at ACE, and it's unique in our field in terms of having an in-house staff that's dedicated to make sure your businesses are successful and grow and sustain throughout the life of the loan. We are prioritizing underserved markets, and that's intentional. LGBTQ, low to moderate income, people of color, women-owned businesses, all extremely important to us, and so we want to help. Will we help others in the space? Absolutely, but we're going to make sure that in terms of this specific loan product, we'll look at helping those by intent, the underserved markets that I just referenced. And then lastly, on this piece of it, limited to Fulton County. Again, I gave you the distinction of City of Atlanta kind of sits by itself, and everything outside of that, because I know there's parts of it, obviously Atlanta's in Fulton County, but we're going to exclude them. They have their own sources of funding and what have you. To the right there, again, you'll get a copy of this. Submit your application online. There's the link there. Do me a favor, if you do go in and apply, put Ray Pennie webinar. And the only reason I'm doing that is I want to be able to collaborate with Samir and my team to know how much value add this webinar had. And I know it's going to get legs because it's going to be recorded and it can be shared anywhere and at all times. So, but I just want to be able to track that and to see how much traction we were able to gain from that. When you do apply through the link, you will also get an automated email that's going to provide you with a required document list. Some reason you click on send and nothing comes out, go ahead and make sure that you check your spam. Application review starts once all the documents are in. So once you get that required document list, if you have the need for speed, get those documents back into ACE as soon as possible. That then starts the clock for us in terms of it's assigned immediately through our Salesforce or CRM system to a loan officer, and they'll jump up and run. Email, in terms of contact questions, anything like that, ARPA at aceloans.org. And then below that, you'll see the listing there for Fulton County loan required documents. We're looking at 2001, so really just a year out. We were looking at before pandemic and during pandemic, and knew that there was some significant challenges in terms of revenue during the pandemic itself, especially in 2020. So looking at now in the middle of or towards the end of Q3, Q4 here in 2022, we're going to want to see the 2021 business tax returns, all pages. This references if tax returns have not been filed, but all taxes should have been submitted as of last week. 2021 balance sheet and P&L, profit and loss, are also required. We'd like to see interim financials for the current year. Most recently, our year-to-date balance sheet and financial statements, just to give us a where you are now in 2022 kind of reference point. The same thing with the personal tax returns. We will want to see that. We'll want to get a copy of your driver's license and/or that's back and front, and that's for the business owners or anybody else that has a guarantee or ownership stake in the business. Normally, the ruling is 20% of the business ownership stake would require us to have you guarantee or be part of the guarantee of the loan itself. If there is a copy of a permanent resident alien card, if that's an applicable situation, that's perfect. Depending on your organizational structure, whether you're a sole proprietorship, an LLC, or a standard corporation, we may ask you for your operating agreement. If you have a sole proprietorship, you wouldn't have that anyway, but you would have it as an LLC, and then any of the other corporate resolutions or documents. And all that's for is if you do have a larger corporate structure, we want to make sure that the people that are responsible for being able to go out and acquire capital are the right people that are acquiring capital. So there's that piece of it. I got one more slide to go. And I just want to introduce my team, who I'm very, very proud of. They first all came to ACE. We formulated this dream really last year, the summer of 2021. And so these are the financial advisors that I've referenced that I would say that leverage their time. This is what they're here for. They're full-time. Every one of them is a professional in what they do. All of them are entrepreneurs. We've got expertise in accounting, both from Corinna Atkinson and Alfonso Gibbs, in terms of business taxes, learning how to QuickBooks, expertise with all kinds of accounting software, revenue accounting, all of the above. Glenn is a serial entrepreneur, but he brings a different flavor to the table in that he comes from a venture capital and angel capital background. So he's very good at looking at a business model and finding ways to tweak it to make it more successful and help to build and grow a sustainable business as well as grow your revenue. So a very valuable tool. Juan Colon is amazing. He's actually a doctor in economic development, has a long background and is an entrepreneur as well, but he's very well versed in strategic planning and doing investments and turning around businesses, feasibility studies, all of that. When we want to know what's going to happen in 2023 as an organization on our management team level, we called Dr. Colon into our management team meeting to see what was on the horizon in terms of both inflation and recession, so that we can be really well poised to help our small business owners. So that's a snapshot of who my team is. Karen Malaga is also an integral part of the organization. It's really the project manager of the Fulton County Recovery Loan Program. So I do want to lift her up as well, because she does an amazing job in helping kind of keep all the balls in the air and interfaces early and often with Samir. So that is my presentation. I really appreciate the opportunity here. And thank you, Samir, again. And I don't know if we're going to wait till the very end to do all questions at once, or we'll take them now. You tell me kind of how you want to do this.
Yeah, no, thank you, Ray, and thanks. Great presentation. I will let's say for the balance of the time for Q&A, I'll try to answer a few while you were speaking. That I'll try to take large themes down for the group. So great, thank you, Ray. And you really highlighted something that I missed, which is not only did we go with like a very community-centric approach with the small business loan program, but really targeted minority and female businesses, a very underserved class, which not only you guys do a tremendous job in working with that group, but again, I think you have a lot of great crafted stories of showing elevation for minority and female businesses and that wraparound support. So I think that's an important distinction of this program and makes it somewhat unique. So now shifting to our chief purchasing agent, Felicia Strong-Whitaker. She'll come on to share a little bit about, again, how to do business here with Fulton County, as well as a unique program that they are opening up for small businesses only to bid on Fulton County procurement opportunities here in 2023. So Felicia, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Samir. Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll start with a brief overview of the county's procurement process. I will go through that very quickly. I'm not sure what's happening with my video right now, Samir.
That's okay. We'll pull up the presentation then.
Okay. So next slide, please. So I'll just go through briefly through our different procurement methods, where we advertise. We now utilize BidNet Direct to submit all of our solicitations and bid responses, E-Verify, vendor registration, contract compliance, and that's where I will talk about the Small Business Reserve Program, which is a new program the county will be launching in January. Next slide, please. So that everyone knows, we have different levels of procurements. Purchasing cards, our staff can go out and purchase items on the P card for items up from 1 cent up to $2,500. Small purchases can be done by department heads with no competition up to $5,000. Anything over $5,000, between the $5,000 and one range up to $100,000 would be a quote, and anything over $100,000 would be a formal solicitation, such as an ITB, request for proposal, etc. Next slide, please. So we do advertise all of our bid opportunities in these different publications and websites. The Daily Report, the Atlanta Inquirer, the Atlanta Voice, of course, FGTV, the county's television TV, the county's website, and the Georgia Procurement Registry. Next slide, please. So we utilize a third-party e-procurement platform to advertise all of the county's bid opportunities. I provided the URL here for you. It is free for you to register. You would get access to all of our information. Next slide, please. This is what the website looks like. You will see the Fulton County logo, and it says Fulton County Government Bid Opportunities. It provides you with all of our open solicitations, closed solicitations, awarded solicitations. You can get information about our projects there. A lot of you may be familiar with it and are already registered. Next slide, please. So these are all of the benefits that BidNet Direct provides us. The biggest thing for us during the pandemic was, sure, a lot of you who had done business with us in the past knew that you had to physically come down to the county, get your bid stamped in. That's gone. The pandemic changed a lot of that for a lot of cities and counties. So this allows electronic submission of all solicitations, quotes, bids, RFPs, all of that. Next slide, please. So one of the big things that we want to remind people about is E-Verify when it's required. Of course, it's not required for when we are purchasing goods and commodities, but if it's for the physical performance of a service that exceeds $2,499.99, we are going to need your E-Verify number, and we have to confirm that before we can make an award to you. So we've had a few issues with that. So just want to make sure that everyone is aware of when an E-Verify number is required. Next slide, please. And of course, the state of Georgia, theirs is called a Georgia Security and Immigration Contractor Affidavit. And it is for the contractor as well as for the subcontractor if you are utilizing subcontractors. Next slide, please. Vendor registration. So vendor registration and registering on BidNet are two different registrations. Vendor registration is only required if you are awarded a project for the county and you would like to be paid. If you would like to be paid, you have to have a vendor number for that process to happen. So this is a quick overview of that process. Next slide, please. And this gives you the instructions on how to get started with our VSS registration. We do require that you submit with your registration a business license and a W-9. Next slide, please. Also, the county has moved to EFT, electronic funds transfer, for payment to vendors that are currently providing goods or services to the county. When you register as a vendor, you can also register, apply for the EFT. It has to go through a pre-note process, but you get your payment in a much faster turnaround time. And I know that is a huge issue for small businesses. Any business actually is the turnaround time for payment. Of course, with the county, you have to render services first before you can bill the county. So I know it is important for payments to come, cash flow to come as you expect it to. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the Office of Contract Compliance. Next slide, please. So of course, the county has a non-discrimination purchasing and contracting policy that ensures that our procurement process is open to all businesses. Next slide, please. So the Small Business Reserve Program. The county did have a disparity study conducted, and as a result of that disparity study, they recommended that we initiate the Small Business Reserve Program. So what does that mean? It means that the county can now designate certain procurement projects or contracts for award only to certified small business enterprises. And the intention of the program is to increase opportunities for SBEs to perform as prime contractors on county projects and grow your capacity and gain that valuable experience. Once you are, when you submit on one of these projects, the bidding, the SBE must self-perform a significant percentage of the work. So the SBE must perform a minimum of 50% of the work and limiting your subcontracting opportunities. The county accepts SBE certifications from the Small Business Administration, City of Atlanta, and MARTA. We have a streamlined application process where all you have to provide us is fill out our application. Is very short about your business. Provide us with a certification letter from SBA, City of Atlanta, or MARTA, and a business license. As well as with the City of Atlanta, we accept the City of Atlanta's MBE and FBE certification as well. And that is also with a very streamlined process in which you only have to provide us with your certification letter and your business license. We also certify service-disabled veteran business enterprises, and we accept certification from the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, VetViz. Next slide, please. we just talked about the MFBE certification that we accept already. So we'll go to the next slide. This is where you can go to our website and do your application. It is all online as well. Our turnaround times is about 5 days on that, on certifications and recertifications. And with that, I am done, and I'll wait for the questions.
That's great, Felicia. You said you'd be brief. I'm sure this is not the first time you've shared this presentation. So just appreciate your comments on that and kind of quickly going through things. I know many small businesses, hell, even larger businesses can find kind of the procurement process intimidating. To me, the number one recommendation I would make is go into our vendor management system and just register your business. Once you're in the system, it's just tremendously more helpful. Again, not only getting paid down the road, but being aware of upcoming opportunities and the like. So we definitely encourage many small businesses to just go ahead and submit for the vendor registration. It's a fairly simple and straightforward process. And there's an ombudsman on the other side that'll help you through that process. Just going through some of the questions here, which are really great. And I've tried to answer the more broad ones specifically around, we've had a lot of questions around if I'm not a Fulton County business, if I'm just outside of Fulton County, can access to capital for entrepreneurs continue to support me as their funding opportunities? I think the answer is yes, Ray. And that's how I've been answering it, but maybe you just want to share a little bit more broadly. I know we can, today's focus is around small businesses in Fulton County, kind of just outside Atlanta. But we work very regionally here, so we want to make sure that companies that don't necessarily qualify in that geographic footprint still get an opportunity for success.
Actually, yeah, I'm off mute. Yes, to the questioner, that's we lend throughout Atlanta Metro and 68 counties of the northern part of Georgia, and hopefully expanding soon elsewhere. But yeah, we have a myriad of other loan product types as well. Again, in that bucket size, microloans and under 50K and below. For those of you that don't fit the qualifications for being in Fulton County proper, we got a very aggressive program for specifically City of Atlanta. That's a great opportunity through a funder, again, similar interest rates. So that's an option. And then our traditional loans anywhere from 15K to $1 million that are outside of Atlanta Metro. I sit in DeKalb, but I mean, there's Gwinnett and all sorts of locations throughout those 68 counties, North Georgia, North Central, Northwest Georgia, city of South Fulton and down south. So we really go butt up against Macon, so we can go in a couple different directions. And I'll also give the caveat, if for some reason it doesn't fit into our area, and I know I was kind of perusing the questions about startups, we have friends of ACE that we leverage that I trust, and I'll answer either the questions as they come up, or you can contact me and I put my information in there. But there are other folks out in the community that are equally as mission-based and equally want to see the needs of low to moderate minority-owned and women-owned businesses succeed. So we are like-minded, and I call them the friends of ACE. So I'm happy to always share resources, because we can't do everything, but we can certainly try. So.
No, that's great, Ray. And actually, just following up on that, you were starting to hit on it, right? Small businesses is kind of a catch-all. I think the SBA defines it as under 500 employees, which seems incredible. But I think we have a quite diversity of companies on the call today. Those with an actual footprint, those with more of a virtual footprint, some employer firms, some non-employer firms, especially for the non-employers. Those are, like you mentioned, a little bit more in the startup space. I know we've reserved our small business loan program for those kind of a little bit more established that can demonstrate they kind of cash flow, that they can actually pay back the loan. And the strategy in that, again, is to make sure that funds that come back into the pot can essentially be relended back out and go back into the community. So we want to be cautious and thoughtful about the way that we deploy these funds. But it's something that I get asked a lot too, around very early startup phases. And that, there's this idea around we need to go and access capital, like funding is the way that we grow. What kind of alternative advice would you offer to those? I know there are other great organizations like the SBDC that before you even get to the funding aspect, what is your elevator pitch? Do you really know your business? Is it a thoughtful business model? Is it something that you could stand on before you rush to judgment on getting access to capital? Any kind of thoughts, perspectives you could add there?
Absolutely. So, like I referenced earlier in the presentation, Samir, I want to make sure that everybody that's even thinking of that piece of it avail themselves of our women's business centers on that pre-loan side. I referenced also our other, I'll call them cousins or siblings in that are powered by SBA in the form of SCORE. That's a mentorship one-on-one type of program. SBDCs are again similar. So to the point of doing projections. So what a lot of times we'll do is I'd reference the Dream Builder platform on the pre-loan side. And that really kind of helps you figure out what it is you want to do. I want to make coffee cups. What does that mean? What does the this competitive space look like in coffee cup making? How much should I charge? All of that. So let's say you go through Dream Builders and it asks you to do a 2 to 3 to 5 year projection. Then we'll connect you with either somebody from the SBDC, somebody from SCORE, again, and depending on what the specific ask or need is, even one of our internal financial advisors on the pre-loan side to kind of help walk you through that so that your pitch is tight, that your information is valid, that you know the space that you're about to launch into and go to. And then the other component of that, let's say you've done all that, you've engaged us, we've handed you out to some subject matter experts. I always lift up 2 organizations right now, and there are more, but again, during the pandemic, a lot of people shifted their focus in terms of startup lending, but there are 2 that I love. One of them is another CDFI. And again, I don't have a problem because there's no such thing as competition in our space. We do what we do. But Lift Fund is the name of the organization out of Texas. But Stephanie Bolden is the boots on the ground here in Georgia. And she is statewide, smaller loan product sizes than we'll offer, but she does do startups. And I have a veteran loan program that I'm leveraging for all of my startup veterans that I sent to her. And she joked with me and at the end of May that I helped her hit her year-long goal of loan production. So until Ace gets back in doing startups, that's a great safe place where I feel like recommending her. Obviously, anybody I recommend, you do your due diligence, do all that needs doing. There's also another entity that I like to lift up is Wood Forest Bank. And actually, I just met with some of their national team when I was at our national conference on last week. And they do, what differentiates them is a little bit smaller loan size, but they do have lines of credit. And again, for these younger, smaller businesses that may not need a $100,000 loan, but might need a $10,000 loan, they're a good access. They are based in all of the Walmarts, not all of them, but a good portion of Walmarts in the Atlanta metro area and beyond. So I always recommend folks to just go to Mr. Google or Mrs. Google and click on wherever it is that you live, pop in your zip code, and it'll give you a Wood Forest location nearby. So to answer Samir's question in a very long-winded fashion, you've got the resources on the pre-loan side with ACE. You've got the internal resources from a business advisory standpoint. You've got the learning platforms and Dream Builders and Initiate that we have on site. And then you've got some alternatives to capital if ACE can't provide that for those businesses that are 2 years and younger. So I hope that was helpful.
No, very helpful. And I can see in the chat there's a lot of interest around the Lift Fund. What I will make sure to commit to is, again, after this presentation, we'll make sure to share their contact information, as well as the team that's been on this call, and some additional resources that we've mentioned before, like SBDC and local partners there. So you kind of have like a little resource hub after this discussion. Shifting to you, Felicia, there are probably some more technical questions. And again, I think this goes back into maybe part of the intimidation factor of making sure we have everything tight. When it comes to some of these certifications, is there sensitivity between the DBA doing business as versus the actual name? Like, how sensitive do companies need to be with that? Because I know some are registered with the state under maybe their DBA, but it's not their true company name. Anything that you could speak on around kind of the tightness that you guys have in monitoring and approving certifications?
So we're going to check the W-9, and as long as the W-9 matches what you are submitting as, the county is going to be okay. And that's both on the purchasing side as well as on the contract compliance side. So the county, like other municipalities, is going to rely on that W-9 and what is listed on that W-9.
That's great. I saw another great question around what types of, or at least what overview of services could be bid on, either specific to kind of this small business reserve program, or in your experience, what are the kind of largest bid opportunities broadly that exist here with Fulton County?
So Fulton County has a lot of opportunities that we're looking to designate for small business reserve. We're looking to designate projects such as operation and maintenance of one of our smaller wastewater treatment plants. We're looking at professional services. We're looking at professional services on the public works side for the airport projects that are coming up. Our Department of Real Estate and Asset Management, we call that Department Dream. They have a lot of construction projects that we're talking to them about, small businesses. And as you know, a small business is not necessarily a mom and pop business. It could be a fairly good sized business, but in construction, the small business threshold is more than 3 million. I know that. So it just depends on the type of projects the county is going to have next year. We are working with our largest super user departments, which is Dream and Public Works, to identify those projects so that sometime in January, after the budget is passed, we will be able to provide a list to everyone on our website about what upcoming bid opportunities there are and which ones are going to probably have the small business reserve designation.
And that's great. And we'll definitely make sure to track that and share with our cohort of small businesses. And really, that was kind of the spirit of what today was bringing together kind of your connections and a lot of the small businesses and larger companies that you touch on the procurement side, along with what Ray and I touch more on the community-based and small business side of things. So I think a really good partnership there. One of the extra thing I'd like to ask Felicia is questions around ongoing training or additional information around how to do business with Fulton County. I know for a while there were some in-person regular meetings that were being held. Is there kind of a single repository? I know we'll share your presentation today, but are there any other opportunities to just kind of learn a little bit more through connecting with your office?
Yes, beginning in January, our series of classes will begin again, the how to do business, how to respond to an RFP. We also have some classes on the Office of the Contract Compliance side, how to increase your bonding and insurance capacity. Also, along with legal governance, we find that a lot of companies, when they do start doing business with us, sometimes they're not set up to do business with an entity of our size. So we do have a lot of those programs and we will be putting that information out on our website as well. And Samir will provide that to you as well to help us get that information disseminated.
Okay, that's great. Well, I think I'll start to close this out here. Again, I want to send a special thank you to both Ray and Felicia for their commitment and sharing information from their respective organizations, again, to the benefit, I think, of not only what we're learning, not only Fulton County-based businesses, but broader the region. And similar with Ray's thinking there, we're not exclusive or limiting our partners share our information. We want to share information of theirs as well and make sure that we spread opportunity beyond just the borders here of Fulton County. Sorry, go ahead.
One of the questions, I'm sorry. One of the questions was for me to recap the Small Business Reserve Program. So do you mind if I do that very quickly?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Okay. So on the Small Business Reserve Program, our program is very similar to the City of Atlanta's Sheltered Market Program. That means there are going to be certain projects that we are going to set aside that only small businesses, firms who are certified as a small business can bid on. No one else will be able to bid on those projects. Only firms who are certified as a small business enterprise firm. And again, we do accept the certification from SBA, if you're certified by the SBA, City of Atlanta, or MARTA. On the SBE side. On the minority and female business side, someone asked a question earlier about GMSDC. Yes, we accept their certification. We also accept WeBank, the Women's Business Council certifications as well. And all of those are with a very streamlined process. You don't have to go through the full-blown application process. You simply tell us the name of your business, your address, contact information, provide us with a certification letter and your business license, and we will get you processed and certified. I hope that helps.
No, that's great, Felicia. And again, our board has really charged us with this type of small business engagement. So definitely see this as a two-way street. I think to Felicia's point, we're very motivated and provide kind of that ombudsman service to make sure you can get into the system and make sure you have clear information in order to do business with Fulton County. Again, it's not just to your benefit, to our benefit as well. We're very motivated to make sure we share the wealth. Just wanted to reserve the balance of the time for some of my closing remarks. Again, at Select Fulton, we support companies both large and small through a variety of different ways. Today was very focused around small business funding opportunities. Another thing I would encourage, and we'll make sure to share with this group after the call, we have a unique tool on our website, an interactive tool called Size Up. Size Up is a small business intelligence tool. It's very great for, again, I think companies either in the startup phase or just graduated out of the startup phase and getting a real sense of their company and their business. Essentially, there's two data points that you put into the Size Up tool. One is your city, your location, so any of the 15 cities, including Atlanta, that make up Fulton County, as well as your business. And that business could be very unique and niche. It doesn't have to be broad brush. So it doesn't have to just be restaurants. It could be Indian restaurants. So let's say I put in two data points, Alpharetta and Indian restaurants. What Size Up will do through their proprietary research and information that they're able to pull together, and it's from a variety of different sources like the IRS and the like, they will give you small business performance data on Indian restaurants inside of Alpharetta. The timeline of when when Indian restaurants were opening in Alpharetta over the last 10 years. So you can see if you're at kind of the top of that growth market or if you're kind of on the way down. It'll give you the average number of employees for each one of those businesses. So if you think maybe 20 to 30 employees for an Indian restaurant in Alpharetta makes sense, if the average is 10, right, you might have an imbalance there. Similar with average revenues, healthcare costs. There's a lot of really rich and again, localized specific to the community as well as to that business, small business performance data. So as you're kind of thinking through what your business expectations would be, and a lot of the big boys and the big players have access to this data, we're offering it for free. It's on our website. I'll make sure to share the link, selectfultoncounty.com/sizeup. Once you've kind of honed in on this business type and location, maybe it's already something existing. Another powerful element of that tool is you can layer on information around where your customers may be located, where advertising dollars should be spent. So where there's maybe retail gap leakages, and so some of that spending is existing there, but none of those services are existing in that area. So a great place to kind of market, as well as looking at other competitors. Again, I go back to my Alpharetta Indian restaurant example. You could locate all the other Indian restaurants in Alpharetta using this tool. So okay, maybe we want to keep a little distance from these areas, or these are high demand areas. So I think a very rich and powerful tool that we offer. Another one that I will offer up is called Zoom Prospector. It can also be found on our website at selectfultoncounty.com. It is a commercial real estate tool, very similar to Zillow. We offer both retail, industrial, and office space of varying sizes that you can kind of do a quick lookup of what exists out there in the marketplace. What's that broker contact information? So you don't have to go out and recruit a professional commercial real estate professional on the front end before you start to make some type of location decision. So similar with Size Up, gives you some front end business intelligence and location decision making as you're thinking through where can I be successful. There's a lot of other things that you can layer on top of Zoom Prospector, similar to Size Up. Demographics, consumer expenditure patterns, and the like. So two really good tools, and I'll make sure to share those links after the call today. So again, I think we're hitting up against our 1 hour time frame. Again, I want to extend a special thank you to both Ray and Felicia for their support of this program. Just as a quick reminder, we will share a recording of today's discussion with this group, in addition with a lot of the links and different elements that we shared during this on top of the presentations. And we'll definitely go back and make sure that we've tried to answer. I know there were some very specific questions that I think we'll just want to follow up with offline. So we will filter those out. But with that, I will give you 4 minutes of your day back today. Hope you have a great day. Enjoy the weather and appreciate your time and focus. And hope you recognize that Fulton County is definitely here to support our small businesses. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you, Samir, for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share information with you today.